to hear a little bit more about like being being a partner of a nurse practitioner and like using your skills. There's so many people that I talk to that are looking to join my program where, they'll join the call. It'll be like, two friends, two colleagues. I've had sisters, I've had
Mm.
spouses, where like the partner, whatever relationship that is, the partner is like telling the nurse practitioner, I I saw on YouTube or I read that like starting a practice is the way to go. Like, let me help you. Like
Hmm.
where they're like have a business background, marketing background, pharmacists, like, sometimes they're a nurse practitioner, but they just want to be like the managerial one, but have,
Hmm.
have the friend see all like the friend likes to see the patients and the other one likes to be like a manager. And so what would I always tell them, hone in whatever skills you have and like lean on those skills in your business. And I know that you now have transitioned to be full-time with Peacock away from your other work that you did before. And what would you tell a partner that's wanting to be in your shoes right now? How would they get there?
Yeah. And it started off because I was working full time. I also was struggling with my own mental health. So I was barely being able to work a couple of hours a day for my day job. It was really, really tough. Sometimes I would be able to work more. And like there were times where I had some good medication and stuff, and I was able to do an 8 hour day at my regular job. And it was just so empowering. So it's like, wow, I'm such a high achiever. And it's like, I've just not been able to fulfill that. So
Yeah.
initially, all of my help was really strategic, guiding as in like the business world, helping make decisions, create structure. But he was implementing it all because he was doing it full time. And he works really, really hard as well. And so I couldn't have done it with someone who wasn't able to do the work and like hold that responsibility. But initially it was just soundboarding ideas. It's much easier to take action when someone else has been like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. Than if you're just like, I don't know, this might work, which is another thing where Alicia was that person, like, oh yeah, like let's go. You guys are doing amazing. Love that idea. Go. And it's just so much easier to take action when you have someone to just be like, okay, cool, cool, cool. I'm on the right track. Not like that's definitely going to work, but just someone to soundboard off. And so
Yeah.
I was able to be that, and he was able to like really take action on that. Then what happened was we were growing really slowly. It was like really, we probably I'm just like looking at the numbers just now. So in December 2022, we took our first client. Um, and so we earned um like $500 that month.
Mhm.
And then January was a $4,000 month of revenue. We had a couple more clients start on. February decreased to $2,000 because we didn't really know what we were doing, and it was more of a follow-ups, and so we're still trying to figure out like what that balance was. March, we were out of the country for a couple of weeks, so it was another $2,000 month just because we needed to take that time. We went back to Australia. I went on a business trip, and it was a good opportunity for Az and my child to join. So it was like really, really slow start, Alicia. Like the
Yeah.
numbers,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
and
that's normal actually. Yeah.
that's revenue.
Yeah.
My costs for those months, let me look at this. So my costs were like about the same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and more. So
We're usually like most practices are breaking even at like 3 months,
yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
basically what you make, you're putting back out.
Hmm. And even more so as a group practice. From the
Yeah.
start, we were building systems for a group practice. So we were paying for things like Notion, which is a like a documentation platform, which is really good for
I love
groups
it.
to use in collaboration. It is amazing, and it's a really good hub for us to have our processes and things like that. So something like that you don't need in a solo practice. You do need to have some kind of processes and things, but because we were building systems for a group practice is really expensive to run with one practitioner. Solo practice, you set it up really, really differently. And so if you are building a group practice, the numbers will not look good until you have, like, we're just about to hire. Um, so this is our first time hiring a full-time, and then we're going to hire 2 more full-time. And having those 2 on is like, okay, now the numbers are making more sense.
Yeah.
We weren't just breaking even, like we were doing okay, but not enough to make it worth the risk of having a business. But
Yeah.
then once we have 3 providers under Az as the clinical director, the numbers make sense. There's cash flow, like our projections are looking a little easier. So if you're building a solo practice, your overheads are going to be lower. You're going to build different routines into your day. You're going to do more of the admin yourself. Someone to support is amazing. But then like a group practice really does require that. If
Yeah.
you have,
You need to hire an admin. You need to, yeah.
yes, yeah. If you have a partner like Az did with me, everyone has a skill stack. Everyone has so much experience. Like you are not just a nurse practitioner, you are all of these different things that like stack in different skill sets. Even as a nurse practitioner, you stack different skill sets based on the clients that you've seen, based on your experience and your extra trainings. And that's the same with your partner. Like they may not be a nurse practitioner, we can't sell their services, but what are their skill stacks? Like what are the skills that they've been doing? So a lot of mine was entrepreneurship. I did my degree in community development. So I knew a lot about like community building and connection points and local grounding, even though it was in Australia, it's resonates in every community around the world. And so I was able to kind of build off that. And then also all of the other random things that I've done in my life. So really get
Yeah.
to know your partner and what are the skills, because we don't like, even if you're married, you don't really understand what they do at work a lot of the time.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. It's true. And it's like at work and not at work. Like my husband helps in the business a lot. And like he's incredibly generous where he like basically like donates his time and
Mhm.
we've talked about paying him and he's just like keep money in the business. Like let's keep like saving, building, making rooted even more.
Yeah.
Like you could pay me, in a year, a couple years or incredible.
Yeah.
But you use your skill set in like community building and leadership. I've used Dean's skill set in like he works computer security. So he's set up like all of the rooted computers. He has taken a look at all of our like patient data security. He's taken a look at our like VPN making
Hmm.
sure like everything is secure, and he's looked at like how we're communicating with patients and how to make that more secure. He's looked at he also comes from a family that's like all in finance of some sort. Even though he works in tech, his dad's our tax preparer and his mom
Hmm.
and they both do that for work, and then they help with that with Rooted. It's a bit of a family, and then his sister is my admin, so it's just
Yes.
all it's all really cool. But so because he comes from a family of finance, he took over payroll and just like he has
Hmm.
a really good pulse on like what our overhead looks like, what our costs are, you know, does Rooted have enough money to go to a conference this month? Like he has really good just ideas and he has a good pulse on the finances. And so
Hmm.
that's, I have no doubt that like if he wanted to, we could find a way for him to work at Rooted full time. Oh, and he took a class. It's really cool. He did a year certification on becoming an ADHD coach. Because at one point he wasn't liking his job and we were thinking about having him also be like, a not a clinician, but someone
Service
that's,
provider.
yeah, service
Yeah.
provider. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so we were looking at that. So he did that course for a year and then he ended up switching his job and he now like absolutely loves his job. So he's not taking ADHD coaching clients, but he could, so he could be like a coach, payroll person, computer security person, you know,
Yeah.
you can find where your partner fits. Like there's always going to be
Yeah.
something. And if there's not something that makes direct sense, they can learn, like if they're cool with learning a
Hmm.
skill, they certainly can. There's a lot in business, that like you can just learn, you can just
Yeah.
learn finances, you can learn like spreadsheets and figuring out,
Hmm.
understanding overhead. Yeah, I feel like finances is something you can certainly learn. I feel like what else?
Like the website build. I've built websites before. I
Yeah.
thought I knew what I was doing, but I watched your module and like I had the module there and I would just like you would do different things and I would pause it and I would fiddle around with the website and like get it going and then I'd watch the next part and be like, okay, like these pages. And then I would just do that because when we were launching, I didn't have much time. And so I said, I need to launch a website by Monday and it was the weekend. And
Yep.
so I was like, okay, what's the bare minimum that I need to do? Alicia has that whole module on this. And so I really just like didn't overthink it. I just need this first thing out, even though I knew how to make it better, even though I wanted to make it better. It was kind of like, all right, let me just follow this, like see what she did, the all of that and pause it. And so it was a really good place for me to just like in one weekend we had something up
Yeah.
and then we've been able to like build onto that and it's not ideal. Like our website still needs a lot of work. There's lots of ideas that we have to like build into it. It just hasn't been a priority because we haven't needed to market because we've done so much referral work. And so people had a website to go to and click the link, but it
Yeah.
was, yeah, it
It
was
was
very much. So you can learn like all of those things, but the biggest thing is like know what you enjoy doing. And so even though I can do all the billing, I learned so much about medical billing and how to engage in it. Like that I hate doing shit that relies on me to do it every single day to keep up. Like that's my brain doesn't work like that. I'm much more of a project type person. And so it was as soon as we could, I did it because and I did it the long way because I needed to fully understand it as much as I could to then hire someone to so that I could then I didn't have to teach because she came with experience, but I could evaluate their performance. I knew
yeah.
when they were doing well, when they weren't doing well. And so I needed to know before I could hire someone. And my whole philosophy of hiring is hire people smarter than you
For
every single time. If you think you know more than this person, figure out like, is there something this person is smarter than me about? Otherwise, like they're probably not going to be what you need because you have a small practice. You need everyone to be contributing what they have. So even like the graduates that we're looking for, as knows more than them, right?
yeah.
Like he's just been in practice.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
niche, like they don't know. We're going to be able to train them. But we're looking like, what have they done? Like, what's their little superpower? How do they talk about themselves? And if they're smarter than us, they come on our team. And so, like,
Love
for
that. Love
me,
that.
finding, yeah. And it's like, and people want to do good at their jobs.
They
So
do.
like I hired this finance person from the Philippines through a company called Bruntwork. They kind of recruit for all different types of specialties and stuff, and they've been great. It's like 7.20 an hour. That's including everything. That's how much I pay. And so she came on and she's doing all of the billing. She helped me clean up my processes. We had ideas, and she is not, I wasn't looking for someone who just did processes. I wanted someone to create processes and really own that because I didn't want to touch it. And so there's different types of people when you're recruiting. And when you're recruiting off some of these sites, most of the people are used to those companies where you're just data entry or just doing processes, like you just do the busy work. Whereas I was looking for those people who were able to create the process and improve the process, and that's their process, and they take pride in it. I
Oh,
did recruit someone at the start of the year to help me with intakes, like new clients, all of this. They were more of a clinical experience, so they were experienced in healthcare, scribe and assisting and stuff. But they were warm and welcoming and promising. They didn't really work out because they were much more process driven. Like they needed to be told what to do. They were able to do it, but they didn't kind of bring any kind of initiative. And it was it was really difficult because I didn't have the time to micromanage someone. And so as hadn't been through this process before of of firing someone. And so it was kind of emotional. He's like, we'll give him another chance. Like we ended up moving positions to a more clinical position, but we didn't need the help in our business there. Like we had someone doing that. And so I was pretty frank with Az of like, he's not doing well at his job. He knows he's not doing well at his job. People deserve to do well at their job. Like if it's not a good fit, it's not good for either of us. Sure,
Right.
he does need a job, but people want to do good at their job. Like that's the number one thing. There's no amount of benefits or assistance or anything you can do to help someone more than like let them be good at their job, help them be good at their job, help them have that confidence. And so we let him go, which was a really good decision because it did open us up to, all right, where do we really need the help?
Well,
And that's when we could pivot and hire someone financial focused who, as I
that's-
explained, Pearl is incredible, superstar. She has a family as well. So on night shift, she's like tending to her kids a little, like there's flexibility there. And I'm a mum as well. So I get that night shift parenting doesn't stop.
yeah.
Um, and she's a superstar. She's so much smarter than me. She like builds all these processes. She is learning alongside me all of this stuff. And so it's really, really amazing. And so like, even though I'm a partner and I can do all of that, we're Az and I are both figuring out like which are the parts of work that we really love and enjoy. And we can't offload all of it straight away, but it really does help separate who we recruit in an admin team
Yeah.
first. And
Yeah.
so that's been really cool. And it's really, yeah, it's really served us well with our little admin team.
That's so cool. Yeah, I like what you said about like people deserve to like the job. Like I think about this a lot and it's like, you're essentially like robbing someone of working with someone else where they might do better or like it more or like have that position that you said they would have done better in, but just with another practice or
hmm
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
And I've been on both sides. So the job that I had before, I told you that I was struggling in with my mental health. Um, I just I couldn't do it effectively. I couldn't just do the thing. And it wasn't about the job. It wasn't because I couldn't do it. There was a lot of different factors. And I ended up getting laid off from that job, which was nice, but I also wasn't doing well at that job. So I totally understood the decision. I had a lot of friends there. I'd been there like 4 years. And so it was heartbreaking. And the timing was so hard as a business owner because we had I told you the numbers. So we had only increased to about a 7,000 revenue month, and June 23, the balance was 16.90 after expenses. $16.90. Like so we were and I was paying as, so we were getting paid. That wasn't our income as a family, but it wasn't a business where there was anything left. And so I got laid off at the very start of August. And the week before I had a car crash and we'd already sold our other car. And so I had a car crash. We had like a hire car through that process. They wrote off the car, paid off the loan on the car, but didn't leave us with any money to buy a new car. We had no income to prove, so we couldn't get a loan. We were left with no job, a business that was breaking even intentionally, that we were going slow. Like we talked about that whole process. We weren't at a position that we were thinking it was unsuccessful. We were balancing the books. We were like doing all of the things, building a group practice with one person. And so it wasn't that we weren't doing well, but it positioned us to the point of like business is so risky and you need a backup plan. And we did not have enough of a backup plan. We had bought a house earlier in the year because we knew that we would want to go all in on the business and we had a couple of different income streams. So it was easier for us to prove and get a loan at that point. Otherwise, we would have had to wait a couple of years, which I'm grateful for because it's harder to get evicted from a house that you own than renting. And we've always rented. I've always loved renting. And so, but business is really, really risky. So you need to have your things in order. And at that point, I had to get money from my parents for us to make this move. And
Yeah.
so we were at a position where we were both really employable, and either we would have been put a pause on our business and just gotten whatever high paying job we could do to just claw back some of this, like just get a car, get some money in the bank, like we had to take our daughter out of daycare. Like it was just kind of like, holy shit, like everything just dried up really quickly because we had all of our money, our savings and stuff was going, like went to the house, and then all of our savings were starting to go towards the business. We were expanding it, we were doing all of the things. And so it was
So
really, really tough financially. And that is why, as a business owner, you deserve to have really good profit margins. Like, don't do it as a minimum. Like you deserve so much because you are the one that takes this risk. And so like there's so much value in that. Like insurance does the same thing. Like they evaluate risk. They're only going to do this. Like they put prices on that. And so you as a business owner need to be figuring what is it worth for me to take this risk.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
came to fruition for us. We've always had so much savings. We've always been really employable. And so at that point, my parents really came through. They don't have much money themselves. The exchange rate is absolutely terrible from Australian dollars to US dollars, but they were able to say, hey, we do believe in you. Like they're not business owners and they're pretty risk adverse themselves, but they saw the work that we were doing. They saw how hard we were working. They saw the work that Az was doing and the outcomes he was seeing because we did talk about it. And they said, hey, we do believe in that. Here is a loan that is like, just pay it off when you can. They're like, no, kind of, they didn't want to cause a rupture in our relationship because it's so much guilt in owing them money that I want to kind of pay it back quickly. But it was just a very parent loan, and that has so much privilege. Most people don't have that. I didn't plan to have that as a backup option. But because I've lived my life with supportive parents, I've always been able to take risks because I have fallbacks. I have brothers. I have family, as has family. And
yeah,
so there's so much privilege in that. So think about what your backup plans look like. And if you don't have that kind of support, then you do need more of a kitty. You need more of a backup. You need way better contracts. You need all of that. And so because it comes to fruition, it came to fruition for us very quickly. Um, and my parents knew I was struggling in my mental health. And so being able to own and do something that I know I'm good at really helped. So from there, August, as that same day, I got that morning, I was invited to a meeting called position elimination meeting, and went to the meeting. They logged me off everything. They did give me a couple of weeks pay, which was really generous, and they were so kind about it. Like I adore everyone at the company I worked at, and it was a really hard exit. But that afternoon, I was like, well, we've got time to have a meeting. Let's dream. Like, what could this look like?
yeah,
And that was when we were like, okay, Az needs to take insurance. We can't just have employees. We had an employee. It was really hard to fill her panel because our marketing was geared towards Az. And so she had to get her full-time job, and things changed. She's back now. She's working with us full-time again now. But like she went off for 6 months and did her thing. And then we started to become successful, better managers, all of that. And she came back. Anyway,
wow,
we had to pivot and take insurance at that point. And so it's a lot of work to get to that point. And so what we did was we went with Alma and Headway, signed up so that he could get credentialed as quick as possible. I started the credentialing process individually for him and everything like that. I'd already been through it with our employee, which didn't work out. She only got 6 clients in like 3 months because an ad was like filling up, just because of that marketing difference. But from the time that I was laid off and that afternoon was like, yeah, let's try and do this thing. And then my parents started supporting me. Within 3 months, we tripled our client load.
yeah, yeah. That's the power of insurance. Like you can pivot.
Hmm.
Like, you stay the course with cash and you have control over like, your fees and stuff, and you can go slow. But if life doesn't allow that, that's the beauty of owning a practice. You can pivot and just,
Hmm.
boom, get a bunch of clients. I think it's definitely like you need more work, you need more support, like all of that with insurance, but it's powerful in how many patients you can get. If you like, it's powerful and helped you guys really helped employ you in the business. And yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. So it was like, yeah, it was really cool to see
yeah,
those numbers increase. And then it was a lot of learning because I was doing it the hard way. We did it ourselves, and as soon as we got credentialed, we stopped using like Headway and Alma and things like that.
All right, did you like be credentialing yourself compared to working with those companies? Did
Yes, absolutely. Just because I've worked in startup land and those companies will crash and die at some point. Like they're great. They offer a really great service right now, but there's a lot of pressure that comes with a company that has investors. They need to keep increasing, keep increasing. And even the short time that we were with Headway, they started, and I did design research as like for a while. Like that was one of my passions, like really designing user experiences and software. And software is such a beautiful thing. But the decisions that Headway was making in their app design and stuff was really good, but they were much more of a group practice and then expecting you to fill your own panel. And so like if you're a solo practice, super amazing. Someone else is doing all of that, but it's much more like working for a group practice, but you still have to do all of your own shit. So it's it's good and it's bad. Like I think it really depends on who you are. For us, it was a way for us to just get credentialed really quickly.
yeah,
Headway, we ran a mile from, we really don't trust their data safety and things like that. So we really didn't trust them just from the things that I was observing. And their design choices were very like forcing you to do the things in their direction, which as a group practice owner, you need everyone in your organization to be compliant.
yeah,
But it also takes away your autonomy as a practice owner.
right.
So think about like if you don't have like the support and you're more doing a solo practice, they're really good. And Alma pays really well as well. But again, they communicate with your clients without your knowledge. Like they do a lot of stuff. Like they are really hard. It's harder for you to recoup the money. So we
Yeah.
always had them sign up through our own platforms and everything. And then we would just use Alma for billing.
Oh,
Headway was bad. They're more if you want to be in their platform, the whole thing. Whereas Alma, you can use them just for billing for a little while, which I encourage everyone to be really careful with those companies to use them for what they're worth, but get your own contracts even if you don't use them, because they will fold at some point in the future, or they'll decide that that state is too hard to work with, or that insurance company is too hard to work with. They're making decisions outside of you.
that's
So,
right. Then it impacts your patients and your panel. Yeah. I recently posted about this actually, that just like personally, from what I've observed, I would have concerns with not having control.
mhm,
It was really interesting because I was like getting like a lot of feedback on Instagram where people were like, yeah, I believe you, or I not I believe you, but like I agree with you, because like this is coming from someone that's never worked with like insurance at all. And
mhm,
but just what I observe in like, my 90 plus mentees at this point, it's like some it just like some people were like, yeah, I agree with you, I don't like that I don't have full control. And then
yeah.
some were like, no, you can have full control working with those companies. And I was like, that's really interesting that people have such different experiences.
Yes. And it depends what you consider
So you
full
can't try,
control.
right? You just
Yeah.
have to try something and then decide.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
business, right? You like try and then pivot if you don't like it, But yeah,
Yep.
it's your definition of full control. And like as a person that takes cash, I'm like, my opinion of full control is like a lot of control.
Yes. Yep.
But that's fascinating. Okay, yeah. So then yeah, talk to me about, unless you were gonna say something else, I'd love to hear like the numbers as the months went by. And thank you for being
Uh,
so open and willing to share that. I know a lot of people like to hear it.
yeah, and I've only just really got a handle on the numbers as well because there's numbers in so many places when we were using both of those platforms and we're trying to recoup, and some of them were self-pay. And so I had numbers in a lot of different places and I wasn't keeping up because I'm not good at doing my day-to-day tasks, which is like if I have to do something every day, it's just like I get backlogged and it's just a lot. And so because that's not my skill set, like I didn't get paid for a lot of things at the end of last year because I didn't know how to really chase the money and things like I was still learning a lot, which I still encourage everyone to do. Like I would never run a company without doing the billing in my own team. So I learned as much as I could about billing and then got this finance person in my team to do all of the billing. Billing companies take a huge percentage, like 6 or 7% of your like income. And then if you're paying 70% to the practitioner, like, and then 3% of transaction fees for co-pays and stuff, like where is the money to pay your EHR, to pay yourself as a business owner? Like there's just not much left. And so billing companies, they want their money, like they chase the money because they also get paid percentage based on that and they know what they're doing, but they don't know the service that was provided. They're not going to pick up errors. Like they're going to, it's not the same. And so, and also you don't know whether they're performing well because you don't know how to do that job. So
Yeah.
it's really hard for you to evaluate them.
Yeah, you have to have some familiarity to know, yeah, like what they're doing, yeah, what they could be doing wrong. And I have found that there's like a vast difference in billing companies. There's like huge billing companies that just like have really wild ways. Like I've heard like some that charge like $80 an hour instead of like a percentage even, and that's really high. And then they're like saying they're doing hours and hours of work for someone. And yeah, so like large billing companies like that. And then there's like small mom and pop billing companies that are feel, I would guess, a lot more of kind of like they're working on your team.
Hmm.
There's just like such variance and out there, and it just feels like really scary. I feel like it would feel really scary, like
Hmm.
to decide
I
that.
would sooner go to someone like Silverleaf, who's really niched on psychiatric nurse practitioners, like has their own practice, like the team there. And I think it's Beth on there. Like really the focus is helping business owners. Like the focus is really different and they offer a huge range of services. And so I would much sooner trust someone like that that is very niche or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
um
Like the group,
but do it yourself.
yeah, yeah. And the group Natalie likes to work with, I think, is maybe similar to Silverleaf, where like they're like all psych, I think. And like,
Hmm.
yeah, really, really niche, like small, small group. And yeah,
Yeah.
but then,
And make them send you metrics every single
yeah,
week, every single month.
no
Make
one
them do the work to say, we're keeping accountable for this. If they make you do that and make you, and you're having to figure out if they've got it all correct, like run a mile. Like you are their client. You need to have them sending you all of the metrics. You need to have them proving that they're doing everything. You need to have them celebrating when, they get 100% back.
for sure.
Um,
And then,
but I prefer to do it myself because then,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, if you have a team member to do it, and I think that there's like that's huge.
And then it's the same team member that calls the client and it's like,
Yeah.
hey, there was a denial. We're like chasing it up. It's like you have to pay for it. So like let's start a payment plan and then we can kind of figure that out so you can stay on the panel or it's the same person that's able to talk to the client through what's happening because they understand it because they were there the whole time. The practitioner doesn't have to have that conversation. Keeping the finances separate from the practitioner is maybe even a reason to hire your first person so that someone else can have the financial conversation with clients in insurance. Because eligibility and benefits are really tough to understand. You really need to understand it yourself really well
Yeah.
and then hire someone smarter than you that can be like, oh yeah, that's right, but also this something that you've missed and you're blind spot. Um, yeah, so we've done things the hard way in the first year, which caused us to crash and burn as well. Unexpectedly, there was more personal decisions involved in that as well. However, if we hadn't done things the hard way and spent the time networking and setting up those things, we wouldn't be where we are today. We would be having billing errors. We would be having the market really hard again. And so there's this balance of like going slow and having all of those benefits, whereas this year has been on not autopilot, but like we're just like chasing our tails, trying to like keep up with the amount of clients that are currently getting referred. So there's good and bad in everything, but everyone has lots of information, especially if they're working with someone like you who's seen hundreds of people go through this. Um, you can kind of learn what different people did because your situation is really different to mine. And so like these are the things that I've learned and what has seen us be really successful. And then now let's keep talking about numbers.
Yeah.
We hired in May Chantel back, and she was the one that worked with us. We only got her 6 clients because our marketing was really oriented towards Dr. Az. He was the one networking. He was doing all of that. So people referred to him, not Peacock. So we learned from that. We pivoted. We She went and got a full-time job, and then now she came back. She started at the start of May, and we did in May a $37,000 month of revenue.
Oh,
And
exciting.
so, yeah, and so that's having two practitioners full time and one day a week. Um, and then in June, those same two practitioners, $48,000 month having a team member on board. And it's been a lot of work onboarding, a lot of holding space, like making sure she's set up. Like team members are really, really time consuming. So be prepared to spend the time.
Yeah.
Then we just are in interviewing for two other practitioners, and we're looking at a new location so that we can actually have a full ketamine room, a Spravato room, and then also we're going to have 6 provider rooms as well. So we're going to have more space to expand. And so our revenue for the end of the year, like we're looking at this year hitting $500,000 business. And January was a $17,000 month. And then now we're looking at a $500,000 by the end of the year.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
just like, just hearing that. And, like, and I want to reiterate to people that like are listening, like you guys have been in business for how long?
18 months.
18 months. Like that's just crazy to me. Like
Yeah.
I feel like if you really think about like if you start something now, like you can go from a $500 first month to, you know, $50,000 months, that's just like, in 18 months. That's just like amazing, amazing.
Mhm.
And like you guys had times where like you pivoted where you feel like you were worried about things not working, where you had like psychosocial stressors, where you had to hire, where someone left. Like there's so much that can happen in that time, but you just like stay the course. And I think at any point you guys could have said, we are failing, and then decided
Mhm.
to close the business. Like that happens so much. And then I'm just
Yeah.
like, don't like pivot,
Yeah.
change something, like just be really tenacious and pivot and change something, because like it could be like 6 months away from the moment that you quit that like you have a $50,000 month. It's just like it's just
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest mistake people can make is quitting. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of other mistakes and you'll learn, and like there's mistakes that I try to help steer people away from, but there's still going to be mistakes you're going to make because there's no one can know your business. No one can know
Mhm.
the perfect track for you. But you living it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
think
now,
it's not continuing. Yeah.
yeah. And we have momentum, and now our focus is dreaming and being grandiose about like what are the things that would be super cool? Like what do we want it to look like? And then we can see those. It's kind of like when you buy a Toyota.
Yeah.
Suddenly you see every Toyota on the road.
Yeah.
Um, you see that. And so if you can be grandiose and have like a vision for like, oh, I only want to work, and you talk about this as well. You want to have every holiday off. You want to be able to travel 6-hour days, 3 days a week. Like think about the lifestyle that you want, or not working at all is our goal. We want our team to do everything. They're way smarter than us. Absolutely. Like what is it that you're working towards? We're really passionate about like ketamine and retreats and kind of that avenue. And it's really hard to kind of figure out how to really start in that. So we've just kind of had this idea and everything. But because we're curious and that's like a dream, or like maybe that could happen, some opportunities have started coming up. We met a really cool family nurse practitioner, Jess, who was studying psychiatric nurse practitioner. So she applied to be a student, and we're like, these values align so much. And so you attract what you put out there as well. And so but not from a like I'm a little woo woo, but more from a you see the opportunities and you're curious. And so you're looking at Instagram, or you're following different things, or you're talking to the same people, or you're hearing. And so you kind of like hear about those opportunities.
Yeah, I
And then,
agree.
Yeah, and then the other thing that has served us so well in that networking has just like been having fun and really loving the work that we do and the outcomes that clients are seeing. Just like cherishing those clients and really holding space for their journeys from the moment they hear about your practice through, and just being kind. Like we love when other people have businesses that serve the LGBTQ plus population, even if it's doing the same thing that we're doing, because we want more of what we're doing. Like we're doing it because there is a gap. We want to help other practitioners do this work. And so that means that we can, like, we've built this really good community of practice owners here in Arizona that like it's a lot of therapy owners, and we all just like geek out over like really cool stuff or share information. And then it means you have clinical people to be like, hey, let me staff this case with you. Or maybe you have a shared client with a therapist and you've already worked with them and the practice owner. And so it's not threatening for you to be like, let's collaborate or whatever. And then just being really kind and fun. And it's kind of like that Taylor Swift model of like, she's just so generous to the people around her. Like, it's not necessarily just like this big philanthropic thing, but she gives so generously to the people that are around her for her fans. Like, she's so grateful for fans. And I'm not a Swiftie at all. I'm more of a like business respect. Like, I am enjoying her music now and stuff like that. But mostly from that business aspect of just being a really kind person to all kinds of people. And like, when you see unethical stuff, it becomes even more obvious because the people you surround yourself with are doing the work. And so the person I talked about earlier and use some language around is like I'll still be kind, but it's not someone that we want to surround ourselves with. And that behavior is so stark against all of these other people.
For sure. Yeah, you can see it. Like you can see when someone has a really good heart, and like it's just really exciting to do business with people like that. Like I get really
Yeah.
excited when patients like are really happy with a therapist that I recommended or that came from a therapist that is like amazing. And they're like, oh yeah, they're amazing. I'm like, yeah, they're amazing. Like you feel it because patients tell you and they'll be honest with you. I love that. I love how you talked about like sitting back and just enjoying patients getting better and what they
Mhm.
say about like what working with you has done for them and their lives and like what's possible now for them, just like sitting back and like really just like enjoying that and like hearing that. And I think that's wonderful. I think that the point you made about dreaming big is wonderful. Like I think that's I think that's incredible. Like I'm really into that. I'm really into like just like dreaming really big. Like the
Yeah.
direction that Rooted is going now is that I'm um, I have additional practitioners that can see patients, but when I went to Burning Man last year, I was like really thinking about what, like what I wanted Rooted to be when I first started it. And, I really wanted it to be like a wellness center. And so I'm leaning into that more. And so we just started offering like weekly sound baths and stretch classes that help with insomnia at
So
night,
cool.
just like stuff like that where it's just like it's not necessarily like med management, but I'm wanting to hire more like wellness, like general wellness. Like instead of like going to like a yoga studio, it's like a mental health wellness studio almost, where you can
Yeah.
like you can come and meditate, you can um come and have a sound bath. Like I think that kind of community like wellness center I think is more the direction I'm going. And then on top of that, I'm really into like the wellness of business owners. So then would have been talking to, the first person I hired to kind of do some of the wellness offerings, where she and I were like, let's eventually, this is my dream big. This is like, no, this is like 2 years from happening at this
Please do it. I want to hear it.
same as you, but I'm the same as you. Like my dream big moment is like, I'd love to kind of have like a hybrid between like a wellness, like hippie retreat and like a conference on like private practice startup. And so people come and do like a retreat with me and my team. And it's like they'll learn business startup, but then we can
Yes.
just like be in the forest and like
And that
go
is
down bath and learn
exactly
business.
That's exactly what I was talking about knowing the person you're selling to. Like
Yeah.
right now, like you do mentoring, business owners, all of that. And so again, it's business owners, it's a retreat style, it's offering a different service,
Yeah.
same people. You
It's the
know
same.
how to talk to these people, you have a captive audience, you're respected in the community. And then the services, like your clients are mental health practice owners, things like that. You're speaking to that same person again and again and again and again. And that is so much more achievable. Like that's gonna happen
Yeah.
because you have that captive audience. You know what they want. This idea isn't coming out of thin air. It's
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
from getting to closer and closer to know your audience. And so from
Yeah.
that initial goal is like now you've refined it to like, oh, and actually you can picture the thing happening
Yeah.
because
I
you
can
know your audience so well.
exactly. Exactly. It's like a combo of that and then just like what I just want to do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this would be
Mm-hmm.
so fun, to like
Yeah.
my business. And I think at some point you can just kind of like, once your business is doing enough for you to live and everything, you can just kind of dream and be like, okay, maybe I'll take a chance on doing something that I feel like doing, like
Mm-hmm.
like your ketamine retreats are kind of a dream big moment, but I feel like that's definitely going to happen. Like I know people with private practices that do that and like they love it. Like one of them, she I think made an Airbnb on her property in order to host them.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and she does like I think ketamine retreats for mental health providers to like they have a they have like ketamine assisted psychotherapy and they learn how to do it too. Like which is
Mm-hmm.
a cool concept. But
That's
I
so cool.
yeah. And I think it makes perfect sense that like your clientele are already interested in this. And most private practices are going to see people with a lot of trauma. And I think like doing ketamine assisted psychotherapy, you're going to capture some amount of patients that would really, really benefit. I don't know what percentage or if you guys are even targeting trauma for some reason. I just in my head, I'm like, I think that would be great. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's other indications for like, ketamine, obviously, like treatment resistant depression and things like that. But
Yeah. And our model with it is like we have some practice owners of ketamine clinics that are therapy practices that have the ketamine as well. And the providers kind of come in and they're already doing amazing work here in Tucson. And so we're trying to find like where is our gap? Like we could do the same. Like they would be cheerleaders completely, but also our specialty isn't therapy. I don't really want to hire therapists as much as possible. And so our model is to partner with private practice, like solo practice therapists,
cool.
and private practice, but mostly our connections is solo practice therapists who are so experienced, have
Yeah.
these amazing client loads.
Yeah.
Um, there's a couple of them that are trained in the ketamine guiding and therapy and the integration of it, which is kind of the meat of that work. Like we can prescribe, we can give them medicine, and a lot of clinics just stop at that. But for us, those long-term, like that kind of surgical intervention of ketamine treatment, like 3 to 6 sessions, the the meat is that psychotherapist being there to work through that trauma and to do that work while the medicine is in the system and then integrate it back. And so our vision with it is we're really focusing in on that prescribing side of it because we know amazing therapists and then they're the ones that are doing the guiding in their own private practice. And so right now we have the option of doing the IM at our clinic and they would come and do it at our clinic. And that's one of the reasons why we do want a new location as well, just to have a more appropriate calming environment we can control. Or we also prescribe troches and they do it at their clinic, but we give the client a blood pressure cuff, all of this kind of thing. We make sure that they are trained in all different things, and then they're messaging we have an on-call provider for every ketamine session that we're not physically present in. And so we don't do any kind of virtual ketamine, none of that. Like it is a really serious medicine and it has really serious effects if it's not prescribed well. And so, and if it's not, the person isn't a trained therapist, like maybe they're just a guide or they had a really cool experience. Like that's not who can guide ketamine. Like ketamine is very, very much like we care so much about that person. So we have a provider on call. Like there's always someone. The therapist isn't the medical person. They take the blood pressure, but they don't have to make medical decisions. They're just sharing that. And so that's kind of like our model is really focusing on our prescribing. But the ketamine clinics are great. Like I would love to hire therapists or something in a different kind of model, but we know our niche and we know what we can do well at. And that's kind of, we've got the people to partner with.
Yeah, so you're sorting out like the compliance piece of like what needs to be done to like make sure that everything is covered in order to
Hmm.
administer the medicine safely. Yeah.
And just working with our networks and
Yeah.
working with our local situation and what exists, what doesn't exist. So just reading the room.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, I know we can talk forever,
I know.
but we should
I'm
probably,
gonna go and check out the new location that
oh, I
we're
know, right?
looking
I know
at. So
today. Yes, today you're gonna go look at the new location here, so I'll let you go. But is there anything else that you wanted to share with people?
I think I have made many big points, but just take it in your stride. Like everything is information. This is my experience and learn from it, but they're not absolutes because you know your experience and you can learn from different things. And your course, having you as a mentor, and then also talking to other private practice owners here in Arizona, and really having people around you to learn with. If your partner can come on, or you have someone that can come on, or you can hire that, um, that is going to really take you to that group practice level. Like you really group practice, if you're seeing clients, is going to really struggle. So either you need to hire a full practice manager quickly, which is going to cut into your budget, but that's part of the risk of a business owner, or you need to scale back your clients at the same pace that you're hiring because that mentorship is like really important. And again, that's an absolute. That's my absolute. That's how I do business. But take that in your stride.
For sure, for sure. Well, it's been a joy working with you, and as I just like this is just this is part, like I love seeing patients and then I love mentoring. Like they're both
Yeah.
just equal, just like I just love it. And so I'm just glad I met you guys. I'm glad I could help you guys and be a part of be a part of your journey. And anyone that's watching this, if you guys are interested in mentorship, I'll drop the info below. I'll also drop all of Peacock's information below if you guys want to recommend any patients to them over in Arizona. Um, highly recommend, even if the patient is not LGBTQ plus identifying, like
Yeah.
I highly recommend like literally anyone to go to
Yeah.
your guys. And so thank you for coming on. We'll do part 2 with Az. I'll interview Az too and get his insights. And so thank you again for being on, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Alicia. And we are just such big fans of yours and grateful for the way you operate. And I think some of the things that I said today, anyone who knows Alicia can see those qualities of just really being really enthusiastic, being really kind in business, and just bringing that into business has just been nice to see someone else replicate that so we can be confident in like, yeah, that's a good way to do business. So thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much. It's honestly such an honor after having such a struggle and ups and downs to even be here being like, yeah, I think we're doing it. I think we're doing the thing. There's something
Uh,
that you can learn here.